theme song. You know that? This is my theme song. Warning: the following is rated M for mature.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better. See, I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Out with a statement. You really changed, man. All your music and arrangement. You don't know shit. Shut your mouth. You can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes. Positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate for taking control of your life. Go out and battle, and you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future. We all start losers. We're all late bloomers. Gotta start up through the floor. What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
And girls, how are you today? My name is Tim. I am your true slinger, and I am here with my new friend and my guest today, John Murphy Salamone. How are you? Are you muted there? Or are you unmuted? There you go.
I'm unmuted now.
Oh,
Tim, thanks so much for
awesome.
having me on.
Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to chastise you in the beginning there. I didn't tell you what the rules were, and we're on a new platform, Zoom, today, and hopefully that's going to go real well so everybody can see. So these are our new digs, man. This is Wartime Christianity, and I don't know, this is the umpteen millionth time we've been doing this, and I'm really interested to talk to you. We've already spent quite a bit of time together today, right, on Spaces, and talking about Maine and things, and you came across my radar screen, just a few days ago, right, when you did a piece on Janet Mills and corruption and the Mills family, crime family, and you got Enquirer's attention, right, which he's a buddy of mine, and when you get on Enquirer's radar screen, you come on my radar screen, right? So because he was the inspiration for most of what we do over here. And so I checked your stuff out, and I saw you, and, we're building a movement. We got things going on, and I said to myself, I got to get this guy on. I got to talk to him. I got to see what he's about. He's from a bit of a younger demographic. You got the awesome hair going on there. We got that Peter Ducey hair and shit going on there. I like it. I'm vibing with it. So tell us who you are and just kind of talk to me a little bit so we can get to know you, first of all.
Sure. Yeah. So, first of all, Tim, thanks so much for having me on. My name is John Salamone. I'm a resident of Southern Maine. I've lived in Maine my entire life. I love the state. It's been very good to me personally. But ever since around 2018, I have seen our way of life go downhill and downhill fast. And I realized that if I want my children and my children's children to grow up in the same Maine that I did, with the same opportunities and same values that I had growing up, then I'm going to need to stand up and do something about it. Because not only is our economy getting destroyed, but the moral fabric of our culture is also getting shredded at the same time. Late term abortion, mass immigration, sex change operations for teenagers. I mean, come on, the Democrat Party has gone completely off the rails, and it's time that we stand up and say enough is enough.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree, and I think where I kind of started losing my mind, I became really politically awake in 2020, right, during all the riots and all the crap and the COVID, and I
Hmm.
watched all the live streaming, which is kind of what forged me as I am today, and why I'm so fascinated by streaming and why I do what I do, because I saw a rawness and this just decomposition in our country all over, and all because of this wokeness and BLM and Antifa and all that kind of stuff. But when you see Jay Daniels shot down in the streets of Portland, right, and you see Carl Rittenhouse open fire, and we start shooting at each other, and then I came here 6 years ago, and then I saw all that stuff happen, and we were sitting out here in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and that's when I became like really, wide awake to what was going on here. And the biggest thing that got me was like all the drag queen story hours and
Hmm.
the transing of the kids and the whole queering
Crazy.
thing. And yeah, that's when, and so, when I found out about some of the initiatives that we got going on in school, like a few months back, the principal, high school principal in Gorham, approved some pornographic book. All boys have blue balls or some dumbass name like that. Understand what I'm saying? And I'm going, this is ridiculous. They are sexualizing our kids, and now with this whole gender affirming clinic that they're trying to put in, which they're saying that's not what it's all about, but we all know that's what it is.
It's a Trojan horse like everything else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm just hoping, I guess, that with the whole latest move of Joe Biden pardoning his son, that finally the mask is off. That most reasonable people will see that these people lie through their freaking teeth. They'll tell you it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. Then they'll say, well, it's not happening very much, or it's not significant. And then sooner or later they'll say, well, it's happening, but it's a good thing. Right. And
Hmm.
and and that's the way it's always progressively slid. And I think what was bad about us, as weak about us as conservatives or Republicans or whatever, is that we're always backing up. We're just slowing down the progress of the left. We're never regaining any ground. I guess
Absolutely.
that's what I'm interested in doing. And what say you?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The progressives have moved the Overton window over the last 10, 20 years in particular, like we were talking about on our Twitter space just an hour ago. Barack Obama in 2008, when he was campaigning against gay marriage. He said, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. I would not support gay marriage. And now we're talking about less than 20 years later, putting transgender clinics inside high schools and allowing 16-year-olds to chemically castrate themselves without the knowledge or consent of their parents. I mean, the Democrats make it seem like the conservatives have gone so far right. They always talk about the alt-right, when in reality, it's them who's pushed the Overton window, who's pushed the boundaries. It's them who has gotten so radical over the last 10 years. The Democrat Party of the 2000s, I remember Occupy Wall Street, standing up to the one percenters, standing up to the Iraq War and the wars in Afghanistan, all the Middle East stuff that's going on. That was the Democrat Party that I knew back when I was growing up, but it's morphed into something completely different today.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that Overton window, and it's like that the leftists, the Marxists, they're all just masters, okay, at projection. And the whole while they've moved so far left that, they're going to fall off the end of the country, okay, in California, the fruits and nuts and flakes are. Is that, but yet they say, well, we're the ones that are extreme because we are far away from them, and they are screaming and pointing at us and say, you're the ones that are extreme.
Hmm.
And the thing is we accept the labels and we get shamed into it, right? We take them all. We take all the labels of racist, or you're a xenophobe, or you're a homophobe, and all under the cover. I think much of it, the Christian guys they've turned it around on us and say, well, you Christians have to be nice to us,
Hmm.
you know. And I think that the day and age for niceness is kind of over, man. I think people are sort of done with that. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. And I've seen a lot of around the southern Maine area. I see a lot of churches even that are adopting the rainbow flag. I mean, I look at these, they're old, beautiful buildings, and they have the rainbow flag hanging out in front of them. And I just see it as a conquered church. It's a conquered church because they're not conserving anything anymore. The conservative movement, the Republicans were supposed to be looking at what's good about our traditions and trying to hold on to that. And we're not doing that anymore. We're on such a back foot. We're on such a defense that we're letting them push the boundaries and gain more and more ground. And we're just trying to resist them. We're not even trying to push back and pull that Overton window in the right direction. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, back when I was really interested in street preaching, I remember someone saying, well, what you're saying is fine, but you just need to take that back to, inside your church. Like that's where it's acceptable to express your faith. But that wasn't enough. The leftists even pushed their Marxist ideology into the churches where there were weak pastors that
Hmm.
didn't have a spine to say, "No, I'm sorry, but that ideology does not belong here. It's not consistent, and it is antichrist." Okay, because these things that we're taught that we're supposed to be tolerant of. I'm sorry, but God's not tolerant of them. He's not going to be tolerant of them, and it's not compassionate of me to tell you He's going to be
Right.
tolerant of it in the end, right? And so, yeah, I mean, but the church, I think, has left the building in many ways, right? Sean Foyt kind of shown that. I think there's revival breaking out. I think there's spiritual awakening going on when you look at people like Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson, and people that are coming. I think, and a lot of people come into Catholicism. Interestingly enough,
Yes. Yeah.
that's interesting. What do you think about that movement?
Well, I was raised Catholic. I am Catholic today, and a big part of that church that I've been very supportive of is that they have been openly against late-term abortion in any sense for very consistent about this issue for a very long time. And this recent law that they passed in 2023, the Maine Congress and Janet Mills signed it into law, allows for abortion in the third trimester, in the seventh, eighth, ninth month,
Yeah.
without any protection for the child. They can do it for virtually any reason at all. There used to be language in there that said in the third trimester, there needs to be a good reason. There needs to be the life of the mother needs to be at risk. They erased that language in 2023. So now, for virtually any reason at all, uh, a viable child can be aborted in the third trimester, in the seventh, eighth, 9 month, up until dilation. A child can be they inject feticide in it. It's horrible. They inject feticide in it, and then they perform a C-section to remove that child from the uterus. It is absolutely disgusting what these people are doing to our state and to our legislature.
Yeah, it is, right? It definitely is. And I think that it's interesting because, I mean, we can talk about some things, and someday I hope to get some theological conversations going on because I'm used to be Catholic, and
Hmm.
I was quote unquote born Catholic. So was my wife. We both went to St. Margaret's parishes, different ones. But when I came to Christ, I went back to the Catholic Church, and for a number of reasons, based on my interpretation of the Bible and statements of faith and things like that, I wound up being a Baptist, right? And then I ended up going to seminary, at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, good school. And so, but today I think we're living in a day and age where it's like I'm more of the belief that you look at the story with Jesus when I think Peter was saying, "Hey, there's guys over there are preaching they're preaching Jesus, but they're not of us." And he says, "Listen, if they're not against us, they're for us, right?" And so I think that right now is the spirit of time where it's like, I don't really want to split hairs, okay, about certain things theologically or whether or not, this position is correct or that position is correct when as long as they're not spinal issues, so to speak. If we can agree that Christ is Lord and you're
Hmm.
not forgiven without the blood of Christ and so on and so forth. Arguing okay whether the oh God, whether the Eucharist is actually the physically transformed in the body of blood of Christ. I'm not interested in those arguments anymore. I'm just
Hmm.
not,
Hmm.
right? They're
Do you
great.
believe Jesus is the Christ, is the Son of God?
Yeah,
I mean, that's really the fundamental
yes.
issue here.
Yes. And I believe that every church has error. And there isn't one that doesn't, okay?
Hmm.
Because they've all been infected with their own different kinds of tradition. I was in a evangelical church, or a Baptist church before I went to the Reformed one, and it was like there was this ritual and sacraments, and people walked in aisle, and then they stood at the X, and then they dumped the salvation from the when they said the certain prayer, and the mumbo jumbo happened, and then we throw them in the baptismal, and they get wet, and some of them are no more saved than they were before, right? Because they did something, but there was no regeneration that actually took place, right? And that you see that when you see the fruit in someone's life. So I'm more interested in the being the looking for fruit, right? Good fruit in
Hmm.
people's lives, and using that and building coalitions wherever we can because Richard is a really interesting guy, and you'll spend some time talking to him. You'll find that he's a coalition building genius. I think he sees things. He sees like a HUD display over the top of the demographics. He sees things in a way that I can't really picture them. But he's great to talk to, and we're living in a great place where we have the technology and the ability to do things that we've never done before and build coalitions and do things without having to have, I don't know, gobs of money. Like Grok is available to every one of us, like the artificial intelligence. I don't know if you've played with any of that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's the Wild West these days, right? And I was very excited to see that we made an effect the other day. And I mean, I think we maybe brought enough heat that we got that superintendent of schools
To resign. Yep.
to resign.
MSAD 11. She's
How,
gone.
how awesome was that, dude?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Solisbecki, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last name right, but representative from the Rangeley area, I believe. He came down, and I believe it was Gorham School District that he went and spoke at the school council meeting and really ripped him apart. He was issuing FOIA requests. He's telling them that he's gonna hold them accountable, and just the Pine Tree Patriots movement on X, I think, brought a lot of attention to that topic and stopped it in its tracks. So I think we can be really proud of the result of that.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think that alternative media is absolutely where it is at. And so when we came in to come along Pine Tree Patriots as this network, the TNN network, I mean, it was just like a match made in heaven. It was like a hand in
Hmm.
glove relationship. And so I kind of look at us as we're sort of the media arm of PTP, right?
Hmm.
And I really kind of dug some of the stuff that I was hearing this morning, to a certain degree, um, with the guy that we were talking about, Cider. He brought an interesting take, an interesting perspective, and I think one of the things that is a good central sort of organizing principle. But again, what we were talking about is it needs to flesh out and influence, at least influence that changes the candidates that get into power that can make laws that can make real changes. I think that's a
Hmm.
huge component we can't overlook. That's one of the things that we need to be doing. and we need to have influence campaigns. And that doesn't always mean get somebody elected, okay? But we can sometimes put heat to people and hold their feet to the fire and make them do what they said they were going to do. Things
Hmm.
like that. So that's where it's at, I think, is bringing light and heat, you know. And what the cool part about it is we live in a day and age where I can get Tucker Carlson's attention. We can get Fox News' attention.
Hmm.
Did you see that? Alvin was on Fox News.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about the MSAD 11 in Maine.
Yeah, man. And I mean, that's the way, you know, it's like Richard Robin. He said, "Get ready, Tim. Get ready." Because now it's 1 degree away, right?
Hmm.
Because once we get that attention there, it's just eventually you know, this tide is going to rise. And it's kind of like the way I see it is like when people come up in high school, you know, you come up through junior high, and then you're a freshman and a sophomore, juniors and seniors, you know. That's the kind of way it is rising in this whole thing of alternative media, you know. And you got your guys out there, the Daily Wires and all that boys are out there, and Steven Crowder's. They're at a certain level, right? And then you got your tiers, you know. We're not that far, and you know, and we live in this day and age where we can actually get someone's attention literally at the national level. I mean, literally, I've had Elon Musk reply to a post before.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's crazy.
Well, it is. And, alternative media is so important. We see, like with Elon saying that, you know, what did he say? It was like free speech is yours now, or you are the media now. I
Yeah,
really appreciated, what he's done buying X and actually giving free speech back, because what was happening on Twitter and social media before was horrible. It was just creating these giant echo chambers. And I think, like we were talking about before, it's so important that we win the culture war, that we have free speech and we're able to talk about these things and hold people accountable. But also, like you said, at the end of the day, the only way we can truly take back control is by winning elections, by passing law, by getting a true Maine First leader behind the big desk in Augusta, by getting a majority in the House and the Senate of people who aren't corrupted by these big special interest groups, by these big corporate lobbyists, and are actually going to do the right thing for the people of the state.
yeah. So how in the world, okay, do we do that as far as, you know, the governor's mansion and you know, uh our Senate seats? I mean, you know, uh Susan Collins is like a damn fixture, right? And
Neocon through and through.
yeah, right, absolutely. Well, I mean, absolutely, and she's got to go. And I mean, Janet Mills is terming out, right? So we don't know who's queuing up to be governor. But I mean, who is it? What who do you see? What kind of candidate do you see being able to accomplish, like, say, to be achieve, you know, being able to win and become governor? I mean, that's a tall order.
Well, we got to be strategic about it. We need to, work within existing frameworks, probably work through the existing Republican Party, and we need to gather donations, because money wins elections. It really does. If you can have, yard signs everywhere, if you can put flyers in people's mailboxes, do multiple rounds of that, if you can create well-produced media productions, good digital marketing, that is something, and if you hit these Democrats on the issues that they're the most extreme about, if you can hit them on the late term abortions, if you can hit them on the Green New Deal economic policies, if you can hit them on the gender clinics in schools, I think it's going to swing that moderate vote in our direction. So really what it comes down to is grassroots media is the first step, winning the culture war, exposing these people, getting good digital marketing, getting good marketing. But then at the end of the day, it's gathering those donations and actually winning those elections. So money wins elections. We need to be strategic and actually, work on empowering this group financially, so we can actually fight these big money interests that are currently infiltrating our state. I mean, we have essentially a fifth column running the main uh, legislature right now.
Hmm.
And that column is made up of big corporate donors, special interest groups, Planned Parenthood, the Maine People's Alliance, so on and so forth. and we need money, we need funding to fight back against that. And the first step in that is alternative media, in my opinion.
Right, right. Well, I tell you, I know about as much about state politics as like I don't know a lot about it at all. Right? I mean, I know basically that I knew a few candidates that ran. I understand that it mirrors in general our federal government. I understand that we've got about a good dozen, 12 people that might as well not be in the Republican, have an R next to their name, right? Because they're
Yep.
not Republicans, right? They're all part of that machine, right?
Cough, cough, Mitt Romney, Susan Collins.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm talking about too at the state level in the
Yeah,
state. Like we got people like this movement, for example. I all you got to do is look up the roster of everybody that was on Republicans for Harris in Maine. Roger Cates,
I
Paul
didn't even know that was a
Mills.
thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. So it was a thing, and I did a radio interview or I mean, I did an interview, and I had this guy on the phone, Roger Cates. It wasn't, of course, a grassroots movement. It was a bunch of good old boys that, you know, uh,
Naturally.
yeah. And so I called him out. After about 6-8 minutes, he figured out I was no ally. Yeah, when I started kind of asking him if he understood what a rhino was and asking him if he thought he was one and all that kind of stuff. So, but so yeah, if you look at that list of that people, we know that there are those swamp creatures hanging around right down there in Augusta, and it's just like, oh Jesus Lord! Every time you mention the GOP, it's just like I go, oh, ew. It's like I don't, and you talk about money, and I go, yeah, because I'm just like, yeah. I'm like real super idealistic, dude. I'll just tell you that right now. Okay.
Hmm.
Every day I fucking wake up and go, you can do anything. Anything's possible, especially in the day and age we live in and the God I serve and a lightning bolt. Okay. In like 4 days, we organized enough to overturn this apple cart, right? In that district, in that school district in Gardner. And so it's like I appreciate what you're saying, and I think you're probably even right. Okay, that there's just no way you're going to be able to get this done without money. But I always want to kind of go, are we sure? Are we sure about that? Are we not limiting ourselves in some way because we say that, and then we limit ourselves into some sort of thinking, and we're cutting the end of the damn ham off only because Grandma didn't have a pan that was long enough. You with me?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's my biggest caution there is I just don't want to I'm all about, man, all right, how can we do this from a commando point of view? How can we do things that nobody's ever thought of before because we are living in a day and age. And maybe that's merely we can rely less upon money and that there's a certain amount of money that it will take no matter what. But we do know that Donald Trump was outspent 3-1, right? And so he won with the decisive mandate and the popular vote as well. So
Yeah, in 2024, I think he was outspent a little bit. He did have some big money. I mean, Elon Musk gave him like $200 million or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
He was, and Miriam Adelson and a lot of other um, special interest groups were funding his campaign, and we do see a lot of within his administration the result of that. The people that are actually getting nominated do there is some questions about their certain political allegiances and so on and so forth. I think you're right though in the idea, and we need to be idealistic about this. We need to focus on the grassroots because that's how we're going to succeed. That's how we're going to kick this off. But if you're running against somebody in a district that has, $100,000 to spend on marketing and you have nothing, it's going to be really, really difficult to pull out a W in that district and actually get our senator or get our congressman in office. So I think that we need to kind of merge these two interests, merge the grassroots movement with kind of some strategic thinking to better empower ourselves
Right.
to take back control of legislature.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree that, is well, I mean, for example, like Mike Soboleski, right? Neat
Mhm.
guy. We like him every time we hear him. He's on fire. He's got good things to say, right? Zero social media presence, man. Just
Mhm.
not exploiting it like at all, right? And so I'm just going, wow, we're underutilizing things, and so
Yes.
we and I guess, I mean, it's like there are firms out there that will specialize in viral content. That's like what they do, man. They go, we're gonna make something go viral for you, whether it's for your
Mhm.
product or whatever the hell it is. So, it's there is that sort of wild card, I guess, that was there that never used to be there, 20 years ago.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There are. You're right. The media space has opened up the floodgates to getting these grassroots movements actually empowered.
yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy. Like what's happened with the Pine Tree Patriots in just a short period of time is just bizarre.
Mhm.
It's growing organically. It's just something that is loose. It has a very loose structure to it, and it seemed to be okay with the kind of leadership structure. Nobody's fighting yet. Nobody's, so far so good, man.
Mhm.
Kind of keeping the fingers crossed there. But
I'm
I
sure there'll be some heads butting eventually over certain
Well,
stuff,
there
but
there have been. I mean, when we started drafting the mission statement, right? It caused somebody to walk out because they said, "I don't think we should be doing most of the stuff focusing on social media. We should be doing using OSINT or some other thing like that." And I'm going, and then somebody else kind of walked out because they said, "Well, we should be only doing in-person meeting because we could be infiltrated online." And I'm going, no, we just need better security, right? There's no way that like I would be able to get around because my wife is, disabled, and we can get around sometimes, but to seriously be going traveling all over the state to meet places, it just not doesn't make sense for us. Nor do people, I think, have the time or the money to do that, right?
well, absolutely. And even just myself, just kind of kicking things off, people notice the pine tree flag behind me. And a lot of people have had a tiff with me about that. But they'll say things like, it's like the rainbow flag. It's been hijacked by, these progressive movements or these certain candidates that we're not a fan of. I'm like, I get the rainbow flag. It's gone. It's been hijacked by that ideology. But this is a flag of the American Revolution. I mean, George Washington rode this into battle in 1776, and it originates from John Locke's appeal to heaven, an appeal to a
Yeah.
divine authority when all earthly uh, sources of remediation have been exhausted. So, we can't just stand down and let them hijack symbols like this just because some progressive used it on their with their campaign. I mean, that's the way that I feel, at least, about this flag in particular.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't disagree with that, right? Just because it resembles something else from someplace else doesn't mean, anything either. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. And I've long had a problem with the left hijacking symbols. I mean, shit, I want the damn rainbow back, to tell you the truth. But I don't know. It's pretty nasty once they put that big brown streak in the middle of it. I was like, okay, maybe I don't want the damn rainbow back. So anyway, let me see. Enjoying life, enjoying the fight. Hey, Truth Airs in the house. How you doing, Goonie? Good to see you guys, man. We've been online like for hours now today. I'm not normally online this much on a Saturday. I usually don't make any appointments on a Saturday, but I really wanted to talk to you and see, I think that the way that we are going to accomplish our goals is to get enough voices out there. And I like I said, I just really enjoyed that piece you did on Janet Mills. And I think we need a slot somebody to at least once a week to come on and tell us, man, kind of a breakdown of what's going on in Maine during the week or whatever. I think that you probably do a really good job with a podcast about Maine. Are you interested in doing anything like that?
Well, I'm very flattered for the offer. Right now I've got a lot of things going on. I'm planning on running for office in 2026, and I'm working towards that. And I want to be on your show um, intermittently. I'd like to be on there all the time, but I can't commit to a regular segment right now. But I really appreciate the offer. And talking about Janet Mills. Do we want to talk about Janet Mills now? Do we want to talk
Yeah,
about
let's do it.
CMP and
Yeah,
Western
sure.
Rivers and Mountains? So it's a long story. So feel free to interject, or ask questions, or just interrupt me at any point if I'm going on too long. Okay. Um, so just going back to 2018 when Janet Mills was running for governor, at the same time, CMP was pushing to get their corridor to Hydro-Quebec approved so they could make billions of dollars selling electricity to Massachusetts. The deal was already made, the contracts had been signed. Massachusetts was ready to receive that power, and Hydro-Quebec was ready to sell it to them through CMP's new transmission line. The only problem was they still need to get the transmission line approved. So when Janet Mills was campaigning for office, she publicly opposed the CMP corridor, but as soon as she took office, she had a sudden change of heart. How about that? A politician saying
Hmm.
one thing to get into office and then immediately changing their tune once they get in there. Never heard of that before, have you? Um,
Mm-mm.
so she got into office, immediately changed her tune, approved all the permits CMP needed to clear cut 1,000 acres of Western Maine forest owned by the state for the new transmission line. And we all know the rest of the story. It went to popular referendum. The people overwhelmingly shot it down. About 60% of Mainers voted against it. And then the Maine Supreme Court just recently overruled that popular referendum and is allowing CMP to proceed. So total kangaroo court going on up in Augusta right now, just overruling. They declared it unconstitutional, a popular referendum. Completely ridiculous. But where does the corruption come in? Because a lot of people will look at that and say, so what? The state got 140 million over 40 years in a compensation package from CMP, which more than makes up for the 1,000 acres being leased. And on its face, that sounds reasonable. But here's where we need to think critically for a moment, because this is where most people lose the thread. The facts are that CMP and Quebec Hydro stand to make tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars off that same transmission line over the very same 40-year period. So that 140 million is just a drop in the bucket for them. And they had to go through our land to make that corridor. There's no other alternative route. They would have paid us billions of dollars, or at least given us a guaranteed percentage of the revenue from the transmission fees. We had all the leverage in the world, and Janet Mills just gave it away by blanket approving those permits in 2019, a total disgrace to the state.
Wow.
So why did Janet Mills make that horrible deal? And here's where things get interesting. So in 2018, going back to when Janet was running for office, her brother, Peter Mills, set up a nonprofit company called the Western Mountains and Rivers Corporation. Has a nice ring to it, right?
Yeah.
They approached CMP directly and negotiated a no-bid memorandum of understanding, an MOU, for $22 million and 670 acres of land. And the agreement was that the money and the land would be released to Peter Mills's company, contingent on the corridor permits being approved and the transmission line being finalized. So blatantly, a massive carrot on a stick for his sister, Janet Mills, to get the project pushed through before she leaves office. It still is a carrot on a stick. That money's still pending. Which, by the way, that's the literal definition of corruption, Tim. To have a carrot on a stick like that to get a private company's project pushed through, the definition of corruption, that needs to be investigated.
Sure.
And we're told ostensibly that the land given by CMP and the 22 million is for projects like building trails and other environmental initiatives. But here's the issue with that. And this is key, and I want your whole audience to understand this. Why was this deal set up under a private company owned by the governor's brother? Why wasn't this handled by a public trust or a legislative committee, which are specifically designed to provide congressional oversight for this kind of situation? Instead, the money and the land were promised to a private organization owned by the governor's brother with a board of directors hand-selected by the governor's brother. And even if they do end up conserving the land and building the trails, they still get to pick all the contractors, they get to pick all the suppliers, and they get to pick all the environmental consultants. And you better believe they have a buddy or two with a company that just so happens to build trails and do environmental consulting. That's just the way that it works
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. It's
politics.
all cronyism, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So Peter Mills and his cronies, by the way, who's to say that they aren't going to try to sell that land back to the state of Maine in 20, 30, 40 years? That's probably part of the plan too. This is generational wealth stuff that we're talking about.
Ugh.
And another angle, I'll land my plane here in a second, but another angle that a lot of people talk about is this Next Era energy company, which sponsored the Stop the Corridor campaign. Do you remember that? The Stop the Corridor campaign?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see the yard signs everywhere, all these well-produced ads running on TV and social media. And yes, this company did have a vested interest in stopping the corridor because it would compete with the energy they already sell to Massachusetts. So they don't have the best interests of the people of Maine in mind either. But whatever way you slice it, Janet Mills made a horrible deal for the state of Maine. She knew it was a horrible deal, but pushed it through anyways because people in her immediate family stand to gain massively from this. It's totally corrupt and needs to be properly investigated.
Wow, 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 wow. Well, I mean, the question is who's going to be looking at this, right? Who's going to be the one that's willing to look at this? Because it sounds to me like this is almost like, everybody just always looks the other way with this stuff, and we can do the best we can to bring a light on it. But how do we get attention on this thing?
Maine Ethics Commission and Attorney General. Unfortunately, both of those are essentially controlled by the Democrat Party in Congress. So the only way that we're going to get somebody to investigate this is by getting a Attorney General nominated, and that means being the governor and having control of legislature. So
Mm,
that's the only way that I can see that this is going to be properly investigated, unless somebody at the federal level comes in and
that's what
takes
I
a
was
look at
going to
this.
ask. Are there any federal laws that are being broken here?
Probably. I mean, they did in a way where they set up this nonprofit. And again, people say, oh, this is a proper way to do it. They set up a nonprofit and they're going to conserve the land through that. But it should have been done by a public commission. It should have been the land should be given to the state. It shouldn't be given to a private company owned by the governor's brother. It's totally corrupt. So I
Mm.
hope that somebody at the federal level comes in and takes a look at this. Maybe Pam Bondi will come in and start looking at some stuff. She's Trump's AG, but um, I would guess that they would focus on more federal level issues at that point, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe we can
yeah.
shine enough of a spotlight on this, especially if Janet decides to run for senator against, Susan Collins or whatever. That's
Oh,
another thing that people are saying that Janet may try to, since she can't run for governor anymore, that she's going to try to take one of those Senate seats over for the state. So I hope that if we shine a big enough spotlight on this issue as well as the many other issues, which by the way, she also was the biggest advocate for a giant federal contract being given to CMP in Aroostook County for the Aroostook Renewables Project, like $500 million given to CMP to set up solar panels. And by the way, a lot of people have, problems with the environmental concerns about the transmission line and cutting down those trees. I get it, but with any type of energy production, there's going to be some sacrifice. If you want to build a renewable energy project like a bunch of solar panels, you got to clear cut trees and
yeah.
then import solar panels from China. If you want to do wind projects, you got to cut down trees, import all the parts from China, and then the windmill kills all kinds of birds and is very disruptive to our scenic views. So I think these environmental conservation groups, they're focusing on the wrong things. They're not focusing on clean air. They're not focusing on clean water. They're not focusing on conserving our scenic views. They're really only concerned for the corporate interests that are backing them.
Right, 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 right. Well, we just sold like a huge chunk of the ocean, didn't we? I mean, well, I'm sure that there's something going on there, to those wind farm developers, right? Which we know, I mean, the whole wind farm thing, holy crap. It's like, people that put these things in, or a lot of people don't understand the physics of it, but if you've ever swam in a pool and heard children screaming on the other end when you go underneath the water and you hear them like they're right next to you, well, that's what the whales do. I mean, these things are constantly thrumming. They're making god
Yeah.
awful noise, and they're awful for I mean, they're awful for the
The offshore
ocean
wind
life.
farming stuff you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
absolutely. And so, ironically, in order to save the damn planet and the animals and all that, we're killing them all. And but it's this stupidity. It's this law of unintended consequences. It's following an ideology, and actually more of a money laundering grift than it is anything else, I think, all
Remember
around.
Angus King and his son? They're passing laws when he was governor to make sure that Maine would be 30% renewable, relying on renewable energy
Right, right.
for like over the next 20 years. And then he comes out of office revolving door style. Him and his son set up wind farm companies and profit massively.
Yeah,
Uh, so there's all
absolutely.
kinds of this stuff going on. One thing that I think we should take a closer look at, and that I've been looking into recently, is hydroelectric, because we have these legacy dams all over the state already, in our rivers. Those could possibly be converted to hydroelectric energy. And the reason that I say that is because if you look at Washington State, for instance, they have the cheapest electricity in the country, and they're 60 to 70% reliant on these hydroelectric dams, which most of which are owned at the state level or administered by the state. So I think that that's something to look at when considering how we resolve these energy crises and how we actually achieve energy sovereignty in the state of Maine. We have a ton of rivers. Most of them already have dams in them. Could those be converted to legacy dams? I think it's worth taking a look at.
Oh, I do too. I think probably hydroelectric is your most reliable because, in general speaking, water's always going to flow, right?
Hmm.
It's going to go up, it's going to rain, it's going to come back down, and it's probably the best renewable energy there is. Besides, I don't think the tidal's been exploited well.
Hmm.
Personally speaking, I think the tides are something that come and go, and there's a lot to be done there. But I think that, and the other thing too is, I still think that nuclear energy is got a bad
Yes.
rap. I think it's come a long way, and I think that we really needed to do some more looking at that because there's this all this renewable stuff. I mean the windmills are not renewable. They're not recyclable. There's nothing so recyclable about them. There are
Hmm.
graveyards of them laying around. Same thing with the solar panels. What the hell are we going to do when those things run out in 10 years? Okay. Or the hailstorm comes along and busts the hell out of them.
Yeah, they're horrible for the environment.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the stuff that you need to build them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not good. They're full of heavy metals and all sorts of things.
Nobody wants to look at the nuclear though because there's so much propaganda against it. Like there was a new movie that came out, Chernobyl, that was a few years ago.
Mm.
Everybody's hyping up these meltdowns that happen that are very, very rare. We already have a nuclear plant in New Hampshire, by the way, that's owned by NextEra that sells energy to us. Um, I think there could be some good opportunities for nuclear power for the state of Maine as well.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Definitely. Well, I think the biggest thing I'm interested in is the corruption, right? And what's exciting for me is this day and age, and I think I was sharing with you earlier in the spaces, is that I wake up every day these days with a serious feeling of wonder. Like I live in a day and age that I'm one idea away from doing something really, really important. And because of the amazing tools that we have in front of us. Okay, just artificial intelligence, for example. I've got a show. I got to go today. I think at 4. I got a show where I'm going to live stream, and I'm just going to play around with AI and teach people how to use it, how to do
Hmm.
prompts and stuff like that. Because we've got somebody who just the other day, Chris Walsh and we do a show on prayer, and he's really big into Bible study and stuff. And he's an older gentleman, never used AI. Man, I haven't heard from him in like a week and a half since I taught it to him. He's been down a rabbit hole and he's generating all sorts of new content and stuff. And, because
Good stuff.
it allows people to be more than they are because it takes away certain limitations, right? And so the sky's the limit with this stuff. And then again, plus the ability to communicate, and that literally I have the ability with an idea, with a tweet or a post to get someone's attention that could actually bring national attention, focus down, and make a change on Maine. That's kind of the space I exist in, and I think we need to work here as much as possible. But hopefully, I think with this alternative media thing, I'm trying to bring national attention here to Maine and then have change in Maine and then be able to export that out and franchise that in other states, right? And be a guide to other states of how to do it, how to get her done.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good vision. Absolutely.
I just hope that that and he has so far is that God keeps bringing in all the right people, and he seems to be. It's crazy the kind of folks that are coming together, and in such a short period of time, and in a very odd way, especially when for a long time it seemed really dry. And I don't know. I think it has partly to do with the season that we're in, and I think that people are just excited from the whole populist win that we had. And I think that I'm feeling this desire for people to go, let's keep riding this wave because we still have real problems here in Maine that we've got to address and we've got to take care of, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean, I know you don't live near the cities, but homelessness is just exploding, man. I grew up in Maine. My entire life, I've lived in the greater Portland area, and it has gone downhill fast. I mean, there was always
mm,
some homelessness, really not that much crime, but it has exploded. I mean, the first time I walked down to Portland a couple of years ago and I saw needles on the side of the street, I saw people urinating in alleyways and you know, more people sleeping on the streets than ever before. And it's really just because of these progressive policies that have been passed. It's not usually, in most cases, it's not organically Mainers falling into poverty. It is these Democrat policies that have given people free housing, that have dramatically expanded shelter space. The Hope
right.
program in Portland, which it's the housing opportunities for people in encampments. It sounds nice, it sounds humanitarian, but really what it's doing is it's attracting thousands of homeless from all around the country to come take advantage of our free handouts. And that's why we have more people sleeping on the streets. That's why we have more drug addiction. And on top of that, these policies don't allow police officers to do their jobs either and actually clean up the encampments and clean up the cities. We're holding our officers back from doing their jobs. Um, and with immigration too, I think a certain level of immigration is healthy for our society, but our resources are overwhelmed in the city. Tens of thousands of people coming in over the last 4 years, the state's spending hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's unfair to Mainers who are already struggling to make ends meet that they are expected to bear the financial burden of thousands of foreigners coming in. So I think that there needs to be, a certain level of immigration, but I think we need to control it and we need to cut these programs. We need to reduce funding to these programs that is incentivizing people to come up in Maine to receive free handouts.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's that network of NGOs. I mean, Catholic Charities. We were talking about Catholic Charities the other day, and I know you're Catholic. How do you feel about Catholic Charities and their? I mean, I guess if you looked into their funding, I've got some graphs and stuff I could send you. But I mean, like 75% of their funding is from government sources. 50% of it is other. It's very vague, and then like 25% is from Medicaid.
Are
And
they actually endorsed by the Catholic Church? Because I know there's like Catholics, there's a group called like Catholics for the pro-choice or something, like pro-choice Catholics. I'm like, that completely goes against the church's statements. So,
I don't know. I don't know. I
mhm.
just know that, Catholic Charities all the way from the border down south, all the way up here to Maine, okay, is like picking up vanfuls of people or kids. I've seen it happen. And then up here, they'll pick them up at the airport and drop them off at the city hall in one of these towns or whatever. Uh, I can't remember what town it was that we talked to the other couple of months ago where they were just dropping them off at the town hall from the airport. Was it Lewiston? I can't remember. I think maybe it was. But I mean, it's just crazy tunes. And what I'm hoping is that with the new administration and with Tom Holman, who again wakes up pissed off, right? That guy, that's gonna stop a whole lot of this. It's gonna stop the fingers are gonna go in the dam. Then the next question is gonna be, what are we gonna do with the people that are here? And then there's a reasonable situation of, all right, not everybody's gonna be gone at the end of this. You just know this. You
I
can't.
th- I don't think mass deportations are on the table. I don't think Trump's going to do it. I think that he would get killed in the media if he even tries to do something like that. So that's why him and JD Vance are talking about we need to deport the violent criminals. But really, what are we going to do about the rest of these people? And I think the answer is going to be we're just going to have to assimilate them.
Right. And that's, that's going to be challenging in and of itself as well. But it has to be addressed because right now that's one of those frictions, and it's one of those ones that I worry about that drives quote unquote racism. Okay, and I put quotes around that because it's something that the left ends up using calling racism, but that is not really what it is, right?
Hmm.
It's just people that are clashing cultures with other cultures that have been put there because of policies that weren't right. They weren't even legal. Okay,
Hmm.
like, see, my view is, and I'm a cold bastard, right? I just am. Like, everybody's got a damn story. Everybody's got a damn sob story. I'm sorry. Everybody should wants to live here in the United States of America. I understand that you came here under a policy that was yeah, it was the policy, right? But at the same time, most of these people know that it was a policy that was a progressive policy, and they're coming to get the free goods, like you said. And so, the way I feel about it is, if they were illegally mass paroled, and well, just put it on a bigger, more fundamental philosophical level. If I had proof, I mean, dead ass proof that Joe Biden was not the legitimate president of the United States. Like, we found the 14 million votes. There it is. I got the smoking gun, the whole name. He is not legitimately the president. Everything he ever signed would have been theoretically no longer law. It unravels it all. It undoes it all. Right. So I guess that if a court would say it's not legal to mass parole, you're supposed to parole individually. That wasn't done in this case. All of these people are benefiting off the fruits of an illegal thing. Okay, then to me to say, all right, guys, you enjoyed what you enjoyed for the time you enjoyed it here, but the stay's up. You got to go. Party's over. That no the free bar is closed. It's shut down. It's go home. The lights are gone. Right. It's time.
Hmm.
Party's over. Go home. And you're gonna have more than probably when you came here, and that's probably gonna allow you to live like a king when you go back to where you came from, and you can get back in line as long as you do that, and we don't have to come catch you. That you can come back, get in line, and you're welcome back. Right.
Hmm.
Unless there's some really good, compelling reason you need to stay here, right? That's my feeling on it. And some find that extremely discompassionate, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Is it?
Well, a lot of people, yeah, they'll make the argument that, oh, you're Christian, so you need to allow for, mass immigration. It's like, actually, no, it's not. There's nothing humanitarian about allowing your society to get overwhelmed and destroyed. Um, so, and going back to Tom Homan, the one thing I'm concerned about with him is that he's just the borders are. It's really a symbolic position. He has no real administrative power. I wish that Trump had elected him for Department of Homeland Security head, but he's really going to be essentially an advisor. And I hope that, seeing the tariffs that he's threatening, Trump is threatening to put onto Canada and threatening to put on Mexico, and re-implementing that stay in Mexico policy, it does give me hope that he's actually going to stop the flow. And at a state level, all we can really do is cut the funding. And that's exactly what we need to do. It will disincentivize. The federal government's going to have to find another place to put these people if they're allowing all of them in. The state should not be, the main taxpayer should not be footing the bill hundreds of millions of dollars to give free housing, free hotel rooms to people who entered the country illegally. It's just not fair, especially while we're already struggling to make ends meet at the same time. So that's how I feel about the issue. I don't think there's anything kind or humanitarian or Christian about letting your society be overrun by homelessness and illegal immigration.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, the folks in the chat and are sort of expressing and I think the reality that I think there's going to be people are going to be disappointed because you know, they kind of campaigned on the mass deportations, and I think that to a certain degree, if there isn't something significant done, I mean, number one, shutting something off, and number two, because I mean, Sarah Hernandez or whatever her name is, Savannah Hernandez, is that her name? Yeah, she went to one in Maine, and it got national coverage that that the migrants here are living in these places for 2 years. Really nice places. I mean, nice apartments. I would have liked to have lived there when I first, was married. All new furnished and everything. They don't pay a dime for anything for 2 years, right? While we've got our own citizens that are sleeping on the street right now, right? They're
Hmm.
sleeping in the
Hmm.
park, and they're sleeping at the warming station at the Mansion Church, right? In I think Portland, yeah, and staying there for the night and getting a cup of soup and a sandwich and leaving in the morning so they don't freeze to death, right? That's crazy, right?
Right, exactly. And honestly, in my opinion, what we can actually do to actually reduce homelessness and drug addiction, to actually reduce or control the amount of migration that is coming into our state, is by reducing the funding. That's really the what we're going to what's going to be effective at the end of the day. And with the homelessness, I think we need to reallocate funds into inpatient rehab and return to work programs rather than dramatically increasing shelter space and providing people free apartments when they come here and live in tents. And we
Yes.
need to empower the police departments to take back their cities, to say, we're not going to allow tents on the side of the road and shopping carts full of garbage to disgrace and make our city much more filthy. That's what I've seen coming out of Portland over the last 20 years living here. I've seen it go downhill and go downhill very fast. And it's really a result of the progressive policies that have, under the guise of being humanitarian and being kind, we're spending more money, increasing shelter space, giving asylum seekers free hotel rooms, free apartments. I mean, Gorham, or no, it was Brunswick, who recently shot down a new like low income apartment unit that was uh, going to funnel asylum seekers into it. So there's just so many interested parties in getting these things pushed through, and I think we really need to fight back and say we need to put Maine citizens first again. And that's really what I think our movement should be focused on, is putting Mainers first, and not allowing our cities and our society to be overrun by drug addiction, homelessness, and illegal immigrants.
Right. Well, and I think it's the reality is we're going to have to start with a criminal element first, and get rid of the people that just don't want to play by the rules, right? I mean, those people got to be first, man. Put them on the catapult, right? Just sling them suckers out of here, right? And back to wherever the hell they came from. But the reality again is going to be some portion, right, of the folks left over are going to be here, and somehow we need to figure out what in the world to do with them, and live, I guess, side by side with the situation that's been created, and I know that probably a lot of people don't want to hear that, and I but but I think that there's just a certain amount of stuff that people don't have the stomach to do that perhaps maybe need to get done, but that just isn't the will isn't going to be there, the political will. I'm hoping maybe that that's not true, right? Like the Tren de Aragua got to get the hell out of here. They got to get Aurora, Colorado, the hell back, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And like and we're having similar problems in Lewiston, but is in Springfield, Ohio. I mean, you got car insurance is through the damn roof because all the accidents, because none of them migrants, or I consider them illegal because they're economic migrants, right? uh th- they can't drive, and
Hmm.
so they're causing accidents and stuff like that, and it's just there's a huge communication problem. There are behavioral issues because they're coming from war torn places. The poor teachers are, they're like, I'm expected to teach fractions, and to these kids, and they're from they're dealing with these other issues, being from these third world places that are just too much for the teachers that aren't woke. Okay, they won't. Then there are the other ones that are woke. They won't say anything about any of this nonsense, right? But but there are the ones that are saying, we're cracking under the strain because it's just too much to manage all those things and try to educate the kids at the same time, right? And so the the locals, the Mainers suffer, and really the migrants aren't served well either in the end.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's actually cruel what's happening. And the fact of the matter is, it's coming full circle. It's our rogue intelligence agencies that over the last 50 years have been infiltrating countries like Venezuela, like Guatemala, like these other Central American countries, and have been staging coups. They've been overthrowing the leaders, we call them dictators, of these countries and installing our own corrupt government so that our corporation can siphon off the resources from these. And it's really an international corporate effort. These type of operations aren't benefiting the US citizens. It's really these economic hitmen coming in to these third world countries, overthrowing the government, installing our own guys so that way international corporate interests can come in, these NGOs, these big oil corporations, in many cases, like ExxonMobil, to go in and privatize all the oil infrastructure, which used to be nationalized, and then they can profit off of that, which really doesn't benefit the US to any extent. And it's causing these migration issues. It's causing people to flee their totalitarian states. Most people, Tim, they don't want to leave their home country. People have a deep sense of pride. They want to love their home. They usually want to stay there. And the reason that they're coming into the US is because their country has been taken over by these horrible totalitarian regimes that oftentimes were installed by the United States' rogue intelligence agencies. So the issue really comes full circle. And I'm hoping that Tulsi Gabbard and Kosh Patel and these other administrators that Trump is nominating to head these offices can actually get these rogue agencies under control again.
Yeah. I think that's critical and that's important. And it's hilarious and a joke that Kamala Harris goes, flying over there to these countries, right? Which again, you said were all pretty much installed by, the CIA and
Hmm.
and and it's crazy, and we're gonna go over and address the root cause of this migration. Like hell, you are. I mean, it's horse crap. She never did anything, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Except go over there and grease the wheels of certain American interests and business interests, and that to benefit absolutely not Americans, but you know elites. I mean, it's just all the whole big mess, man. All the what's crazy to me is like it's just nuts that we accept the fact that public servants that never worked a day in their lives are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. We just go, yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah, they're not insider trading. They're not taking, backdoor deals. That's exactly what's happening. Somebody who has a salary of $200,000 a year, less than $200,000 a year, suddenly they're worth $50 million after being in office for 8 years. It doesn't make any sense at all. And one thing that I've noticed about Maine in particular is not only are there a lot of people migrating here, a lot of immigration, these asylum seekers are being pushed to Maine, but our own people are leaving the state entirely, our young professionals, because they can't afford to buy homes here. They can't afford to live. I'm talking about young people, 25-year-olds with bachelor's degrees, good jobs, dual incomes. They can't afford to buy a house here because these big hedge funds, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, their shell companies, their subsidiaries are coming in and artificially inflating the value of our housing supply. They're buying up our residential housing stock. An estimated 20 to 25% of our residential housing supply is owned by non-human entities. It's not fair to the young professionals who want to buy a house where their parents grew up, where their grandparents grew up. They're having to leave the state and go to places like Raleigh, North Carolina, or Austin, Texas, to find opportunity because they can't afford to live here because our taxes are astronomical and
Yeah.
because we're allowing hedge funds to come in and artificially inflate the price of our housing supply to outbid young couples that just want to own a home and start a family here. It's not fair, and I think we need to put an end to it. We either need to bar non-human entities from buying single-family homes in the state, or we need to implement some sort of non-resident property tax because it's not fair that these giant corporations are coming in and buying up our single family houses and then renting it back to our own citizens. The purpose of a house is not to act as a stock option that you're going to 10x in 10 years. The purpose of a house is to raise your family in it and then pass it down to your children and your children's children. At least that's how I feel uh, at this point. And I think that we need to do more to protect our residential housing supply from being artificially inflated by these foreign and nationwide interests.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you just in general, I think that the downfall of America has always been really the whole idea of rental. I mean, there are times where rental, I guess, would be appropriate. You know, you don't want to necessarily have to. You move once, right? You need a box truck. You don't want to. You don't have to own a box truck. But
Mhm,
in general, generally speaking, right? This whole push, has started way back when people started rent and own TVs and furniture and all this kind of nonsense. And now here we are, literally, with the idea that you will own nothing and be happy, right?
no, World Economic Forum right
Yeah,
there.
right. I mean, there you go. I
You're
mean,
on
this
it.
is this is all part of that, right? This new world order thing that we're dealing with here, and so yeah, the question is, yeah, is it appropriate for folks to be doing that and forcing people into a um kind of a serf state where people are just serving the state, right? The giant battery,
Hmm.
the matrix of it all, as opposed to be able to build any sort of wealth, which is the way it used to be, right? Which I think
Hmm.
is what make America great again, nationalism, all that kind of stuff is about. America first, America's independent spirit. You get that homestead, man. You're gonna get that 26 acres, and you're gonna get your mule, and you're gonna go, do whatever you got to do on it and make a living and go about doing your thing, right?
Hmm.
And uh, and that's gone. It's just going away for people, right? And not only that, the people that do work in positions that are like in the Portland and in Bangor and areas like that where they're not actually living off the land. They're not rural areas, but they can't literally afford to live there, right? Except the people. Then what happens is a lot of people from outside the state end up owning the property, right?
Hmm. And then renting it back to our own people.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which just vacuums wealth out of the state, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we need to be a little protectionist about our residential housing supply in particular. I'm not concerned about commercial real estate. If somebody wants to come in and start a business here from out of state, I'm totally fine with that. What I'm concerned about is single family homes being bought up by giant hedge funds and their shell corporations. They're usually not bought outright by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. It's usually a shell company. They set up thousands of LLCs all around the country, and you don't even know who these people are. They might be standing next to you at an open house, and you don't even know that they're a representative of one of these giant property management companies that's nationwide, or these, giant finance or asset management groups.
yep, 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 yep. I agree. Well, uh, what do you think is the best way to approach this protectionism and how? I mean, it's going to be a matter of getting legislation passed, right? And
Mhm.
coming up against whoa, big deep pocket lobbies, right there.
Absolutely. I think you either need to bar non-human entities from owning single-family homes in the state, bar hedge funds, large property management firms from owning single-family homes in the state of Maine, or if you can get it passed and it goes, this that might go to the Supreme Court. What I'm about to say is a non-resident property tax. There's some stipulations around discriminating against people who aren't from your state um, in terms of buying houses here. But I think we need to implement something that is going to disincentivize. You know, I care about our own people. I'm truly Maine first. I don't care about the guy in Massachusetts or New York who's buying his second or third vacation property so he can snowbird during the summer and the winter months. I care
Yeah.
about the young couples, the young professionals who are trying to build a life here. So I think that we do need to protect our own interests. And in terms of legislative policy, I think the best thing to do would be to either bar non-human entities from owning single-family homes in the state of Maine, or better yet, implement a maybe 5 to 10% non-resident property tax on residential homes in the state.
Yeah. Good. Well, what I see, and I'm kind of bringing this for a landing because we've been at this for I don't know 1 hour 19 minutes, and I've really been enjoying myself. I learned a lot. But
Yeah, this has been fun.
yeah, there is so much, right? I think that needs to be done. That it's all like so much of it is all tied together. I think that my brain kind of exploded over the last couple of years, right? Where you start to realize, yeah, all these things that we've learned over the years and we've been told and we were fed, much of it was wrong. It was just
Hmm.
wrong. It was wrong deliberately. We were lied to, and then of course all the reorientation I think that has come with Donald Trump and the change in the parties, right? Where the left has become really the party of the big business, and where it used to
Absolutely.
be the other way around, right? And so there's been this great shifting dynamic of populism that's occurred, and so it's an exciting time to be alive and to be fighting these battles. And at first, when I started, seeing all this happening and realizing how interconnected really everything is, sometimes it's easy to get a little overwhelmed and discouraged, right? And go, wow, it's just so like, where the hell do you start? Like what Frank say, for example, the NGOs, right? I have somebody who is an expert on NGOs, right? This is all I ever get from this guy. He gets like a bunch of stuff and all these charts and like more than you ever want to know, right? Go down that
Hmm.
rabbit hole forever of all the ways that money is working, Democratic Socialists of America, all the stuff's going on. I get fed all this kind of stuff. And it's like, all right, where do we start in order to achieve the change and the goals that we want to do? And how the best do we go about doing this and fighting all of this stuff that's been entrenched for so long and this generational corruption that we're dealing with? How do we, today, I guess, be uh that knight, that one that goes and kills the dragon, right? How do we do that? How do we be that David and Goliath? Because that's the age I think that we live in. And like I said, I like to think every single day. I'm a man. I got a theme song, dude, playing in my head. I'm a heroic figure. I do. I fantasize about doing great things, and when I'm carrying and we're sitting there at the grocery store, and my wife goes inside, it's like, man, I'm like looking, man. Is it time to run in there and save the place? And it's like always looking. I'm a man
Hmm.
like that.
Well,
So I'm
manifest destiny, brother. You got to pray for for that positive vision, and oftentimes it may not happen exactly the way that you expected, but God willing, it will happen. And that's what I am hoping and praying for every day here, is that we can take back our state from these groups and actually uh, preserve and build a society that is cohesive and that we can be proud of again.
Yeah. And again, I think that much of just to bring it in is that guy that we were talking to, Cider. What I really liked about that guy was that really, and I've been kind of drawn to campaigning, right? And uh, uh, consulting, and of course, I'm into media and imagery, music, tugging heartstrings. This is all very new for me. I mean, you're a tech guy, right?
Hmm.
I used to be a combustion guy. I'm a mathematician and a physicist, right? So I'm an egghead, and but yet I went to seminary, right? And so there's that, and then just lately, started this media company, and so I do much of the video, a lot of the videos. I'm a recording artist, I'm a voiceover artist. This is all new to me, this artistic side,
Hmm.
and so I'm really, really looking at it, going, "Wow!" I mean, like, for example, so much went into making Donald Trump win the way he won, and podcasting was some of it, but also just the fact that there were armies of people out there like Dilly Meme Team and stuff generating essentially campaign ads, influencing for no money, just because it's organic movement, right?
Hmm.
And people are creating
We need
content.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I find that like super fascinating, right? From a sociological perspective, and everything. And so I again, every day I'm in awe of the tool we have in front of us, the tools we have in front of us, and it's just exciting to be alive with. I think, a bunch of people are sharp minds and sharp spirits are waking up, and I just feel that it's a part of a greater movement. And there's nothing feels better to me than being part of a something larger than yourself. I don't know how you feel about that, but I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So
And just to finish up here, like you said, I think there's a culture war that needs to be won, and then I think there is a legislative war that needs to be won as well. And I think we're winning the culture war, and now it's time to mobilize and try to campaign and actually get people in office, get laws passed that are truly Maine first, that are going to empower the Maine citizen to take their community back and to take their life back. We're getting killed in taxes. We're getting, immigration's exploding, drug addiction's exploding, homelessness. There's all these issues. The DOE is corrupt, and it's got a ton of administrative bloat, billions of dollars going down the toilet every year. Late term abortions, all the trans stuff. I think we're winning the culture war, but it's time that we take back our government. And I'm very optimistic in 2026 that we can swing the pendulum in the right direction. And one more thing I wanted to mention is you had talked about before how the Democrat and Republican Party had kind of flipped on some things. One thing in particular was labor unions. Do you remember with labor unions?
yes.
That used to be a big part of the Democrat Party is winning them, and a part of that was preventing immigration. So it used to be the Republicans, the Koch brothers, libertarian types who are saying, no, we want to bring in all this cheap labor. It's
Hmm.
totally flipped now. And now it's the Democrats who are allowing in all the illegal immigration, and the Republicans are the ones who are saying, whoa, hold up a minute. So it's just interesting to see how that dynamic has flipped over time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there are definitely new new coalitions have been formed. And they made a big deal about Obama putting together a coalition, when he won his presidency. And I think this was equally as fascinating, and I think they'll be studying it historically for years to come. I think what happened in this last election was amazing, right? I think it
Hmm.
was a fantastic
Absolutely.
campaign. But anyway, I'm excited because it's not exactly clear in the next couple of years how this is going to go and who's going to rise. We don't know that yet, right? But some of these things we don't know yet. So I'm really curious to see, who's the one that's going to come out of the woodwork who perhaps has the charisma or what God's going to do, because
Hmm.
he's got to do, ultimately, I really believe, and I think that's some of my last notes to people. This is wartime Christianity, right? That we're not going to win this thing just politically speaking. We're going to win this thing as well on our knees,
Hmm.
because the prayers of a righteous man avail much, right? So we need to make sure that we're
And
taking
appeal to heaven, brother.
yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, this country was founded on the idea, that it's only regulation. The Constitution is only fit to regulate immoral and religious people, right? So,
Hmm.
and that's on us, man. We need to make ourselves in that mold, and that's why I think we need to aspire to personal holiness, man. Seriously, because then God will smile upon us corporately if we're all acting righteously and we're all putting on the whole armor of God every single day, right? Doing the best we can to do that. Then I think that we can move God's sovereign arm and turn men's hearts. And that's what politics is all about, man, is turning men's hearts. And we got to figure out how to do that either by getting people elected in, or the ones that do get in, that we turn their hearts, because, you know, we move them, and God moves them, and we move God, right? So got to all work together.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, good. Anything else? How where do we find you? What's your handle on X?
Yeah, so you can find me on X at John John M Salamone Salamone. You can also find my campaign website at salamoneforsenate.org. So that's Salamone for the number four senate.org. And you can go there and check out what my policy positions are. You can see who I am. You can support me either financially or through volunteer work. Looking forward to 2026, and I'm planning on running in Senate District 32 in York County against Henry Ingwerson. This man has been a complete disgrace to the state of Maine. He may be a perfectly nice person. I don't know him personally, but the policies that he's passed and co-sponsored are horrible, and we got to get him out of that chair. So salamoneforsenate.org. Please go check it out and find me on X at John M. Salamone.
Yeah, good, good, good. Well, we will definitely again have you on. I really like you and I want to support your candidacy. So, however we can assist you, and of course, Pine Tree Patriots, I think, can assist you. We are obviously willing to and stand ready to help you out, man. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tim. I really appreciate you having me on. This was
Oh,
a lot of fun.
good, man. All right, man. You have a nice afternoon, and I will talk to you very soon. I'll see you guys. My name is Tim. I'm your truth slinger. We are out of here. Bye bye.